Welcome to the second video in my Tomb Raider The Last Revelation Glitchless Any percent speedrun tutorial. This is going to go over the Valley percent region of the game, which includes the levels Tomb of Seth, Burial Chambers, Valley of the Kings, and KV5. This first level is Tomb of Seth. Something interesting in this run is that items actually now start to matter, and this is a long run with a lot of pickups and item usage. Alright, so let me interrupt my past self again, because we're going to have to talk about this in more detail. We need to talk about item routing. So item routing can be tough for a long run, so I'll go through the pickups and uses for every video. The most important items here are going to be the medkits. There are both large and small medkits that heal all or half of your health, respectively. We have instances where we plan to use meds, and I'll go over that at those spots, but for now we're going to have to talk about med hotkeys. We can use hotkeys to consume meds without going into the inventory. These keys are 0 for small and 9 for large. This is extremely handy, but there's one quirk that we have to watch out for. In Tomb Raider 4 and 5, when you only have one medkit remaining of a given size, and you try and use a hotkey for that size med, it's just going to consume it, but you won't be healed. Like right here. I press the med hotkey, and now I have no small. And again, try the large, I don't get healed, and now I'm out. With that in mind, we're going to want to watch our med count. Now, we're not going to get to the point where we only have one med left. It'll probably very near the end of the game, but it's good to try and keep track of your meds. So again, I'll be keeping track of them in the tutorial, telling you the uses and pickups at the beginning of each video. Now we can discuss the shotgun shells. We'll only pick up the normal shotgun shells since the blue wide shot are basically useless. We use a shotgun throughout the run for some easy kills. Each pickup is worth 6 shots. Nothing too crazy here, but I will show an extra pickup in case you want some wiggle room with the ammo, because it can be quite tight by the end. Now, later in the game, we'll obtain a crossbow, and we'll use the explosive ammo a lot. This is quite important, so it's another item we keep track of. Each pickup is worth 10 shots of explosive ammo. Now, we also use the grenade launcher, and we use both normal and super grenade ammo. We intend to use all of the ammo that we gather in this run, which is pretty straightforward as we only obtain 10 normal and 4 super ammo during the run. Alright, so last but not least are the flares. We'll pick up a lot of flares and use them a ton throughout the run. Obviously, flares are used for flare canceling stumbles. We can throw a flare and the animation takes priority over the stumble animation, and this makes for smooth movement that saves a ton of time over the duration of the whole game. And each pack contains 12 flares, but we'll be discussing flare canceling a bit more in depth a little later in this video. And with all that, let's get into the first item routing recap of this tutorial. Starting with the meds, we actually start with 3 smalls and 1 large at the very start of this level, so that's why there's this top line and what that represents. After that, we have our pickups for the whole duration of the Valley percent area, and then below that is our expected use. For this first area, we're planning on using no medkits. And then at the bottom, we have our net column, and that's going to represent how many of the items we should have at the end of this area. So this would represent our inventory at the end of KV5 for this video. And of course, this isn't absolute. These are expected med or item usages, but things don't always go so perfectly. So in actual attempts, things might get a bit more messy. Now we can take a look at the shotgun shells and the explosive crossbow ammo. I also got rid of that start line. For most part during this tutorial, I'll just keep it to pickups, uses, and net. This is just because we don't actually have anything at the start of this level. All this stuff is picked up. So we pick up some shotgun shells and no explosive crossbow, and this is what our items are going to look like at the end of the valley area. We can also look at the grenade ammo, but that's not really exciting. We don't pick any up for a while, so this is it. And now we can take a look at the flares. The start line comes back for one final time in this tutorial because we're graciously given 3 flares at the start of Tomb of Seth. And as you probably saw with the shotgun shells, I'm counting the actual items, not the pickups. That's why we had 24 shotgun shells, and because that's 4 pickups times the 6 we're given. And so we're given 12 flares every pickup, so that's why we get 36. And we use some as well, so this will be our net here. And that'll actually end the very first item routing recap of this tutorial. So I will send it back to my past self, and we can start actually getting into the Valley percent part of this. And so we're actually going to get a lot of our items in this first level here. Just like with this flare pickup, this is something we want. Right at the start, we're going to want to hold up and left, and then roll onto this flare pickup and pick it up. After that, we're going to run forward and left, and then jump about here to land down here in this pit where we can pick up the shotgun. But now, as we see, this tour guide starts moving, and we're going to get another meme in this level, just like Werner memed us in the last level. But now, it'll be this tour guide. So this tour guide is meant to help Lara through the first level, but that means we need him in order to progress. This is extremely annoying. Maybe not as annoying as Werner, but still pretty terrible. You have to wait for him to catch up. And if you go too fast in sections, he'll probably get stuck, and you can even soft lock yourself because of him. So just be careful what you'll do. I'll explain what you have to do and where in order to avoid these shenanigans. With these facts of the tour guide in mind, we're going to have to watch out with what we're doing because he can easily mess up our run and soft lock us. Here at the start, there's not really an issue of soft locking, but we do need him when we're heading this way in the level. So if we don't pick up any items and we just keep sprinting this way towards where we have to go, well, we're going to need to raise the sand level in the room under here. And we need to wait for the tour guide to do something right here to lower this block. So now as we see, we're just going to stand here and wait. He takes some time to follow us. So this is just a waste of time. But there's a ton of pickups back there, so we're going to want to pick all of them up and then come here, and then we'll get here about the same time that he does instead of having to sit here and wait for him to show up. So with that in mind, after picking up the shotgun, we'll want to sprint down this way and sprint into this hole and start shooting. It'll spawn the scorpion, and we want to shoot the scorpion. If we don't kill the scorpion, then the tour guide will get caught up trying to kill him. And then pick up this large medkit. After that, do a running jump out of here and sprint along this way towards the right. And then dive. And then we'll want to jump over to this pit to the right side and standing jump up to here and standing jump into the secret. And pick up the small med. Then we want to sprint down, turn right and fall off, and then sprint up this slope up to this large med and pick it up. Now this next part gets dark, but if I pull a flare, we can see there is a small med down in this corner. So we can actually do something called a head bounce here, which isn't strictly necessary, but it's a good way to introduce it. If I pull a flare, we can see that this ceiling is quite low, right near Lara's head. So if we standing jump and hit the ceiling, we actually don't stumble when we land on the ground all the way down here. Meanwhile, if we were just to run off, we stumble and lose some time. Again, because of the tour guide, this isn't really necessary to get this head bounce, to get no stumble. It's not that important, but it's good practice because we're going to be using that throughout. So now we don't want to waste the flare here, so again, just do the head bounce and try and pick up the med pack in the dark. You'll see it pop up in the bottom right corner, and then you can run forward and sprint over to here, and then backflip twist and sprint down this way. Now as we come into here, you want to turn left around this corner and head to another dark corner where there is a flare pickup. And now sprint out of there and head to this hole over here and grab the large med that's inside. Turn and then go to this dark corner and pick up another flare pack. And then head over this way, and our tour guide will open up this block and we will shoot this scorpion. After that, we want to go up to this hole and pull it. Now, a camera's going to pop up like this, and we can't see what we're doing, but we can actually move. As you could see, I could backflip. We can't cancel this camera with look or guns, but if we get off the tile, then it will cancel. So if I turn left and move forward, we'll run off the tile, and it'll move the camera back to Lara. So, go interact with the receptacle, and then turn, draw guns, and run this way. You'll want to shoot and kill this scorpion, and then sprint down here. I like to dive against this wall, and then get a bounce off of this wall, and then sprint this way and dive onto the sand. And then jump and land on this, and pick up. And then jump, turn around, and run this way. So now when picking up this eyepiece, as it's called, we're actually going to run into another meme that this game gives us. This is something that can be extremely annoying and can actually also be deadly given the situation. Here it's not too important, but I might as well explain it as it's the first time we run into this problem. We're going to have to talk about broken action. In Tomb Raider 4 and 5, when interacting with certain things, your action button can actually break. So you hit the action button, but nothing actually happens. So we can see that here with this. This is the first pickup where it really happens. On the pickup for this eyepiece, if we turn and then start running this way, and let's say I try and jump and press action, she doesn't press action. She doesn't start grabbing. The action button is now broken, and I can't grab. Something else that broken action does to you is affect other things. So if your action breaks from picking up an item, you can't draw guns. As you see, I'm running around trying to draw my guns. And of course, action is broken as well. Also, I can't draw a flare. So it breaks a lot of stuff, and you can see how this could potentially be deadly if you're trying to run somewhere and jump and grab and your action is broken because you just picked up an item. So now the only way that this really happens on a pickup is if you go to press the pickup and then you move right away after that. Let's say I pick up this item and I instantly hold backflip, so I backflip and twist and I go to move on, then my action's broken. Only when you instantly move. So if I grab this and then wait a second, don't press anything, and then backflip twist, I can draw my guns and then my action is not broken anymore. To show this in a better setting, I skipped ahead to the Desert Railroad level to show where this could actually really affect you. So after using the crowbar on this little area here, if we backflip instantly and start running this way, and continue on without even addressing a broken action or anything, I want to jump and grab to get into here, but my action didn't work and I bonked and fell and died. So now we need to know how to avoid the broken action. So broken action, like I said, only happens if you instantly start to move. If you instantly turn, start running, backflip twist or anything, if you start moving at all, that will cause your broken action. Basically, you just need one frame, one instant after doing the interaction where you're not moving, and then action will fix itself. That one instant. So like I said, you can't draw guns if your action is broken. So what you see people doing is doing an interaction, not pressing anything, just holding guns, and then when she draws guns, then you can backflip twist, or turn, or go and do whatever, and then you can go on and do everything and use action. So again, very important, after almost every interaction, not all of them break action, but most of them do the interaction, wait a second, draw guns to know action's not broken, then continue. You want to be really careful. So with that in mind, let's grab it, wait a second, and draw guns and backflip twist. With our guns drawn, we know that action is no longer broken. We can sprint dive, and then sprint around this corner, and then dive as we get into this room. And then sprint over this way, and dive again, down to these stairs, and then go to this room. We can grab this eyepiece without the help of our tour guide if we walk to this edge. That activates the trap, and then we can run and go grab the eyepiece before the tour guide even gets here. So again, draw guns, backflip twist, and sprint this way. And now we want to wait for our tour guide to do this animation. If we hurry up and leave with the eyepiece as fast as we can without him doing that animation first, he's actually going to get stuck, and as we get to this next area, he's not going to follow us. So when you're waiting for him to do this animation, this tile should be the farthest you should go. Use look and turn and watch him. As soon as he flicks his wrist, then you can leave. Jump up here, sprint over to here, and then now we have to do some menuing. Menuing is actually something that you have to do a lot in this game, and it's good to try and optimize it to make sure you're not wasting time going the wrong way in the inventory or fumbling around. At this, you have to combine these two eyepieces to then put it in the receptacle. So here we're going to start on pistols, and we'll actually want to move to the left to the first eyepiece, down to combine, and then combined with right away. And now we have the Eye of Horus, which we can use. This is what it's like inventorying fast. For this, it's easy just to get to the first eyepiece, go down and combine, and then spam action as you go through combine, combine with, and eventually use the Eye of Horus. For this next part, we want to press 2 to bring out our shotgun. And then we want to run and jump up this way. And then shoot these dogs. And then run to the flyby. This can be a tough jump to make here, so I like to jump about here. And then I aim for that low part of the ledge. It's important you aim for this low part because you won't be able to land on the higher one. So try and kill both dogs with one shot. And then sprint this way and put the shotgun away into the flyby. Shotgun ammo isn't too tight unless you're going for the minimum pickups. If you're going for the minimum pickups, you really don't want to miss a shot. But if you're not really interested in being that close on the shotgun shots, then there's some extra ammo that I can point out later that we can pick up and have some extra shots. After the flyby, we want to turn left and then sprint this way into this room. Now this is another meme with the tour guide where we need him to activate this door, like this. If the tour guide got stuck back there because of dogs or scorpions or you didn't do it right, he won't run by in this cutscene or flyby right here. So with this interaction, we actually want to wait and stop at this tile right next to the tour guide, because if we sprint at that door and wait at the door until he opens it, this next part, again, he will get stuck here and he will not follow us to the next part. So again, sprint this way. Make it to this tile next to the tour guide, wait, and then press look to cancel that camera and sprint this way. I like to make this turn and then do a pretty short sprint, and then turn right, jump over this hole, go to the left, and then jump over the water to cut the corner, and then sprint by bouncing off this wall, diving in this hallway, turning and sprinting again, and then letting go a sprint around this corner to make it to this chain, and then pull the chain. At this point, we have a flyby in this room down below, and if we messed up, the tour guide would not be making it into this room. But as we see, he'll turn this corner here, and he'll run in and light this oil on fire. Again, if you messed up before and you didn't wait in the right spot or wait long enough, you'll get stuck, and then you'll be up here soft locked, because this tour guide is a bit of a joke. So we need to jump on these lit up tiles. I recommend saving right before stirring this because it's easy to mess up and you'll want to reload. So you want to go on this tile and then jump to this one, and then turn and jump to this one, and then side flip. And then you can do a standing jump to the final one, and that opens the gate. If at any point you happen to mess up and you do something like this and actually accidentally land on this tile or something, you'll see that these tiles catch on fire. The fire in these will go out and you are screwed. So you'll just want to reload and try again. So once we open this door, you'll want to go up here and pick up the Sands of Time and then sprint out this way. Head down to the left and head into this corridor to the left and over to here. Now getting here fast doesn't really matter because again, we are now waiting for the tour guide. This guy takes a while to show up here, so don't worry if it's taking a bit. It should hopefully work eventually and he'll show up. I like to wait here with a slight angle to the left so I can just hold up and left, and once he's done with this little cutscene that we do, we can just up and left to the end. We should see him show up here in just a few seconds. Okay, now there he is. So again, I'll turn to be a little face to the left, and we'll have this cutscene where our tour guide will freak out, get scared, and run away. Just like this. So now I will hold up and left, and as the cutscene ends, I'll up and left run through the corridor that I want to go, like this, and I'll sprint. Before I sprint, I want to stop and then jump so I hit my head, just like the head bounce we talked about earlier, and we won't stumble. And we'll run this way and climb up here and place the Sands of Time in the statue, like this. From here, we want to turn right and turn and jump here to land up here. There's a little bit of like a triangle type area where we can stand on. If you miss the jump, you might land on this slope here. So turn and land on this triangle area and then do a running jump to this slope where we can jump off into this corridor. This can be a slightly difficult sequence to get, as with the slope that you jump on, you can jump on it in a bad spot and then you won't make it up. And if you do that, you can just try and backflip onto the slope and then jump up again instead of climbing. So again, the sequence will look like this. Curve right and jump. Curve right, land on the slope high and jump off. And then sprint this way. And curve to the right. Jump up here. And then curve to the right, sprinting towards the end of the level. Dive at the end, and then curve back to the left and get up here. And we're going to do 15 crouches forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Press guns to get up, turn right, and then sprint dive to the end of the level. This is the start of burial chambers. We'll want to jump on the slope to get to the right, and then jump to head bounce to stop a stumble to get down to this lever. If you go too far, you might overshoot the lever like this. It looks better if you land it like this, head bounce, curve left, and then get on the lever. After this, you want to backflip twist, and then sprint dive onto this item, the Hand of Orion, and pick it up, and then jump through the right passageway that opens, and go down this way. From here, we'll want to sprint, and then dive through these spikes and pull a flare. And then sprint and turn this way, and then dive again, and then flare cancel, so we cancel our stumble. But now that gets into another entire conversation about this game and how it really pranks you. We need to talk about Tomb Raider 4 flare cancels. So now I'm going to be here in Temple of Karnak just to play around and show some information about flare canceling. Obviously we can pull flares and you can press flare again to throw them, and that animation cancels any stumble and you get some nice smooth quick movement. But there's also a very famous issue with Tomb Raider 4 where certain things you do can actually break this. Kind of like broken action where we weren't able to press action earlier. Now we won't be able to throw our flare. So if we draw our flare and we want to try and do a flare cancel, I'm going to try and throw the flare button and she won't throw it. I'm hitting the flare button and she just doesn't want to throw it until finally there she did. This is an extremely well-known issue for anyone who has done speedruns of this game, and it's really annoying. And it's actually very complicated what causes it. In order to better understand this bug, I'm going to be using a exe made by Troye that basically tells us when we can and can't flare cancel. So let me swap to that. Now at the top you can see some text. Can throw flare? Yes. Counter is 0. Basically in the code there's this counter that goes on, and if you really want to get technical, it has to do with Lara's left arm and hand. It's very strange and too complicated, but basically when that counter is 0 in the game, she can throw the flare, and when it's not 0, she cannot throw the flare. So obviously during that animation where we're pulling the flare, we can't throw it while we're pulling it out, so there's one thing there. So that's basically how this works, and that keeps track of that in-game counter, and we'll be able to see when we can throw the flare or not. The most classic example that breaks flare canceling that I showed earlier was actually running jumps. If I do one running jump, you can see it turns no for a second after I land, and I won't be able to throw it. So if I jump, land, press flare, she's not going to throw it. Jump, land, press flare, not going to throw it. But then I can throw it after. If I continually do running jumps, it's not going to be able to get back down to 0, and it's going to stay no, and I can spam flare all I want and she won't throw it. So this shows a lot of the times it's landing from jumps that causes it to break. As you can see, it's when we land. So if I do a standing jump, it's going to be no. Standing jump, jump forward, and then do running jumps. Things like this are going to cause it to break. As you can see, when the number is really high, we can actually make it go down. Things just like normally running will make it go down, go back to 0, and it'll fix, and we can throw the flare. Sprinting is also fine for the most part. Dive rolling is fine until right near the end. As you can see, it goes up when we get out of the roll. And so, as you can see, it's really complicated. It's not quite understood why this counter goes up when you do specific things. Another thing we can see is that after sprinting and then rolling, that will actually break it. So if I sprint and then roll off, flare cancel is broken, and I can't flare cancel. If instead I just run off normally and then roll off, she can flare cancel just fine. Now if I sprint dive off something, she flare cancels just fine. Sprint diving off is good. As we can see, this is a complicated bug in the game that makes flare canceling quite awkward. That's why it's best when you want to flare cancel to try and do it last second. Do all your jumps and then pull your flare right before you're about to go and then throw it. You don't want to draw flare and then run around and standing jump and then sprint everywhere and do this and that and then finally cancel, because you'll probably get messed up. Because of the complexity of the glitch, it's hard to just give a list of things that you do that cause it to break, and you can have it fixed over time. If you do running jumps and you do running jumps in a row and that breaks it, if you just walk for a bit and then jump again, then you can flare cancel. It's extremely complicated, it's hard to do, but it's good to know the basics about what causes it and what fixes it so you can kind of work around situations. If I were to give a list of more common things that break flare, continuous running jumps would be the top of the list. If you just hold jump and run around, she's not going to be able to flare cancel at all. Another one would be immediately rolling after a sprint like this. You can see it went up no there while I was rolling. So if you were to roll off a ledge, you won't be able to flare cancel. Also, standing jumps. A lot of times landing a jump will break it. Standing jumps will also break it quite easily. You won't be able to cancel. Another common one would be sprinting and diving and then doing a jump immediately after that. You won't be able to flare cancel after landing the jump. This is opposed to sprinting without diving and then jumping as fast as you can. You will be able to flare cancel that. Seemingly, for a lot of the instances we'll be in, it comes down to getting just a bit of a normal walking animation in before you do your flare cancel. There are flare cancels like this where we want to cancel from this jump. If we jump up here and then run a little and then jump, we can cancel just fine. Meanwhile, if we jump up here and then hold jump and jump right away, we won't be able to cancel and we'll be stuck for a second. Or if, like I showed before, you sprint and roll off a platform immediately, you won't be able to flare cancel. So again, the fix would be to sprint and let go and get some walking in and then roll, and that'll fix your cancel. So I would say a general rule before you do a jump or a fall or a roll off that you want to cancel the stumble on the way down, try and get some normal steps in before you do it. Don't do it after continuous jumps. Don't do it after sprinting and get some normal steps in and then roll off, then jump, then do this, and draw your flares later than you probably would. Don't be running around with a flare for 20 seconds before finally using it. So those are the best tips I can give for flare canceling in Tomb Raider 4. With that kind of thing in mind, I find it best to sprint this way, after diving pull a flare, turn and sprint again, and then dive at this line. Action, use a flare, turn, and then use the Hand of Orion. After that, these blades start spinning around, but the spikes are gone. It's best after using the hand to back hop and hold right to get back here, and then do a running jump, and do a running jump over to here. Again, this will look like this, and run over here. And then now we want to jump a little before this line, and we can do a running jump up onto there without stumbling or without having to climb. So you want to jump early like here to get up here. After we jump up there, on the first flat tile, we're going to have a flyby, which is this. But we can actually skip this with look. So we're going to want to spam look as we come up to this tile. So run over here, jump up, and then sprint and spam look, and then go to this tile in front of where the Ankh is. And now we have this cutscene, which is unskippable. After this cutscene, we'll want to turn right and sprint into this hallway. Stop sprinting at the ledge, sprint again, and then dive over this ledge to the pushable block. Now action and push it one tile forward. One good thing about pushable blocks in Tomb Raider 4 is that you can hold on to action and continue pushing a block. So now we need to push it 2 tiles onto that red one. So we can hold action and up, and she'll keep on pushing it and she won't stop, unlike in the other games. Just like this. Now, as she pushes onto this tile, you can hold flare and she'll be able to draw a flare as the start of this flyby happens. And we'll want to use this to get a flare cancel. After this flyby, you'll want to backflip twist, and then sprint through this mummy, and then curve left, and then dive, and use flare to flare cancel and run this way. This is actually a pretty tough sequence to get, where you can get stuck on the corners and walls really easily, like this. So just practice trying to make that turn. After flare canceling, we'll want to sprint forward and dive, and make a left turn. And then sprint this way, and dive. And then we'll want to jump up here. Now there's this weird torch up here that can get in our way. So when we're running this way, if we step up on this step here to the left, this one, and then we do a jump, this torch can get in our way when we jump, and we'll get stuck. If instead we jump before this ledge like this, we won't get stuck on the torch. Turn left again and jump this way, and then start sprinting towards that ladder in the distance. Dive at these steps, sprint again, dive before this step, and then start climbing the ladder. This will be 7 climbs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At 7, we can do a backflip twist, and then turn, and then do a standing jump and running jump to this item, and pick it up. Again, this will break her action, so even though we're holding guns, she won't bring her guns out, so you can pause, and then turn, draw guns to make sure everything's fixed, and then run jump this way, jump onto this slope, head bounce to land down here without stumbling, and sprint over to this end. Here you can hold up an action, so she'll climb as soon as she can as the sand rises, and then now we have another tricky sequence with a flare that just doesn't want to cancel for us. So here, let's say we draw a flare before running off. If we then run off and land on this tile and then roll off, we're going to be spamming flare and she won't do it for a second. So it's another easy place for the flare cancel to break. First, let's talk about this drop that we have to do. We need to drop on this certain tile and roll off of it, this tile here. Or else if we fall all the way down, that's a very easy death. I like to sprint around this corner, but then stop sprinting and then run onto this tile so you don't overshoot. And then roll off to get down to here without taking fatal fall damage. So when should you draw the flare? I find it only really works if you draw the flare after falling off this platform. So if you draw it before falling off, it's probably not going to work. So I fall off, then draw it, and then roll off, and then press flare, and she'll cancel instantly. So the best sequence will look like this, where we'll sprint tight around this corner, stop sprinting, draw flare after falling, roll off, flare cancel, and then run forward. Jump over these steps, and then sprint this way over the bridge. Sprint here, and then do a dive roll over some of these steps, and then do a jump, and another jump up to here, and we need to draw another flare in order to cancel it down here. I like to draw this flare in the middle of this jump, and then I'll jump up here, over to the hole, and press action, and then cancel, and then jump over to here. So again, in the middle of this jump up here, and then jump down to here, and action to flare cancel. And then we'll have to run and jump over to here, and then jump over to this tile here, where we can stop right at the edge like this, in order to climb. If instead you jump more from the right side, and then curve to the left, it's easier to overshoot in my opinion. So I like to jump around here, and then curve to the right as I come up to this ledge. So I'm more going parallel with the ladder, and then I can jump and grab. It's important to grab on the right side of the ladder, because if you grab on the left, she'll put her feet up on the ladder and then start climbing. And for just a single climb up, that actually takes longer than the much slower animation of her just using her arms, which looks like this. Now we have a skip to skip this rotating room. There are these spikes there, and if we jump on the spikes, we're just gonna die. But if we land right on the edge of the tile, so not on the spikes right away, we can run through them and just take a bit of damage while running through them. So there's the visual for this. I like to line up the middle of Lara's head between these lines and then this little block right here. So I like to save here and then do a back hop and do a running jump and land right on the edge of the tile and then run through and grab this item here. So again, turn Lara and line her up between these two things. Back hop and running jump. And then you can curve and head towards the item without taking much damage. So we want to try and not use a med in this level. At this point we'll have health that's under half. If we get really bad jackals here, they can actually kill us. So we can try and sprint past them and make this turn. As you can see, there's that really bad RNG that can kill you. So you might want to make a save for these jackals, or if you want to pick up extra meds, then you can just use a med here and not reset or load the game or anything like that. So I want to sprint around this corner, sprint dive towards this one, and then turn and sprint again. And sprint around this corner, and then we want to do another head bounce. We want to hit Lara's head before jumping off, so we don't get a stumble like this. So again, that head bounce coming really in handy. We don't need to waste a flare, and we won't stumble when we hit the ground. So again, sprint around this corner, and then turn and jump early so you hit your head. And then sprint down here and dive over this ledge. Jump up to here, jump again. And then sprint to the end of the level where we just need to put the items we collected into here, and that will raise the sand level until we can make it up to the top. So put in this, turn left and go this way, and then put in this. Now this will start to raise the sand level, and it'll actually make this mummy stand up and attack us. If we're trying not to use a med in this level, which we are, we want to make sure he doesn't hit us because we're probably quite low at this point. Not like he's that much of a threat because he walks extremely slow. So we can just kind of walk around and get him to follow us this way. Eventually we need to get up to there where that alcove is, but it's not quite high enough the sand level for us to climb up yet. So we'll keep on waiting, bait this guy around, and once it starts getting close, like around here, we can run up to this left side of this yellow part of the wall and then hold up in action like earlier, and she'll climb as soon as she can. From here, we can just do a little bit of running and do a jump, more running and a jump, and then a swan dive to end the level. At the start of this next level, there will be a flyby showing some of the enemies around. We'll be able to actually do a quick input at the start if we hold that input during the loading screen. Just like in the flyby earlier, after the push block, we held flare before the flyby started, and she was able to pull the flare before the flyby happened. Just like that, we're going to be able to start this level and then hold forward, and you can see her barely stumble down and fall off. That'll just give us a little extra time. Now we can press 2 to draw our shotgun, because she can draw weapons during the flybys. And we want to run forward and turn right and kill this guy who climbs on the block with 2 shots. From here we want to holster the shotgun and backflip twist and jump over this way, up to here, and into here. This is a secret, but it's a really good pickup for shotgun shells. We're going to pick up all 3. And now we want to pull our shotgun and then kill this guy here, roll off, backflip and kill this guy, and then we can kill this guy. This guy drops a small med, which we'll want to pick up right here. Okay, so let me freeze it here for a second just to say that you can skip this med if you want to, and it's actually what I do in my PB. For the most part, the item routing follows what I do because I think it's the best, most efficient routing, but I do pick up the med here for the routing, and if you want to skip it, you can. It would save 2 to 3 seconds, and it would also save a couple shotgun shells that you might have to use later if you don't kill this dude. It's just maybe a little more annoying, and you have less meds to work with. So do with that as you will. If you want to skip the med, just do it like I do in my PB, I guess. And then sprint over to this guy who should be running towards us now, and kill him. And this guy has the keys. After this guy with the keys falls and dies, we'll have a flyby showing this guy walking away and getting in a vehicle. After that flyby, we'll want to go pick up the keys and sprint over to the vehicle. Go up to this door on the driver's side and then spam action to put the ignition key in, and now we're driving the Jeep. The Jeep has some interesting controls. It's a little weird to get used to. You can drive around with the direction keys, and action is gas, like this. While driving, jump will be your brake. like this. Now, the Jeep also actually has reverse. If you hit dash, that'll put the Jeep in reverse, and again, you can action to gas, and then you can use your turns to turn around, and then you can hit walk to put it back in drive. So again, move around with action. If you happen to get stuck on a wall and you can't move, like this, and you're trying to turn around, you're having troubles, you can press sprint. Once you're stopped, you can press sprint, put it in reverse, stop again, press walk to put it in drive, and continue. Most of the time, as long as you're doing things the right way, you won't really have to go in reverse ever. So as long as you don't mess up, you should be fine just driving. So drive, and go over this hill and down to the left, and then climb this hill. We're going to have to turn right to go around these blocks, and then go all the way down here in this giant tunnel. Keep going. You'll take some damage, but damage should not be a problem in this level. You'll just keep on drive straight with action, and then go jump over this, and then keep driving and driving, and then turn right again, and go up this steep hill. And now we get to some more difficult parts. Here we need to drive over this sort of land bridge thing, which can be difficult. You can easily fall down. And if you take sharp corners with the Jeep over a hole, it basically just falls down and blows up instantly. So really watch any sort of a hole. Try not to cut corners. If you need to, let go of action to slow down, and then sort of maybe tap it and go slow around the corner and then drive. But you can just full on hold action, hold down the gas pedal, and then turn all the way around this and go as fast as possible. Turn here and then head this way, and this ends Valley of the Kings. Now, at the start of KV5, we're actually going to do a skip. Normally when you do this level, you can come down this way, and this guy will start driving. And then later in the level, when you get to the fence, he will have the fence close behind him, and then we have to do a ton of junk for casual play to get past. That's gonna look like this. Gate closes, he gets through, and we're stuck on this side. So now, if we're really good at driving, we can actually get and sneak around the big Jeep in front of us because the hallway is big enough. And if we stay in front of him all the way to that gate will actually close behind us, and we won't get stuck behind it. So it's gonna look something like this when we do that. Now we got in front of him. As you see, I still hit around. I hit the back of his car and I hit the wall a little. Even with hitting and stumbling, if you want to call it that, on things, you can still get in front of him. But after that, he can still get in front of you. Like right here, he could easily get in front of me if I messed up. I just want to try and stay in front of his bumper and make it all the way through the gate. So this will take some practice to get used to. I recommend gassing, let it go with gas to get around this turn, and then try and make it this turn and just squeeze between him and the wall. Normally when you're trying to squeeze between him and the wall, it's better to maybe hit him instead of the wall. A lot of times the wall can do a really bad hit on you and you'll slow right down. But of course it's best to just stay between them perfectly and not hit anything. Like that. And when you get a really good one like this, you'll be really far ahead, and then he'll probably have no real chance of getting in front of you. Just keep driving straight, drive over to the right of this hump a little bit, and through this hole, and then just curve left. That was about the perfect way to get around him there, so he's not even in sight. And then we can just drive this way. As you might have seen earlier, the grenades don't do any damage to us. These gigantic crazy spike balls also don't really do much damage, so they're not a concern. And now we can drive around this way. Again, watch the corner cutting over these holes. And then turn to the right here, watch the corner, and go up to here. This time, because I got in front of him so well, the Jeep actually didn't show up here. If you're a little slower, the Jeep will show up there and be in your way at this point. But it won't be that much in your way. Take a similar path to this around, even if the Jeep is there, he won't really hurt you, he might just get in your way a little. And you can keep on driving all the way to the end, and this actually finishes up the valley area in this game. And this flyby will bring us into Karnak. So, again, thank you for watching. This was the Valley percent area of Tomb Raider 4, the second area in the game, and we will now be entering Karnak, and that will be in the next video. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot about all the different memes and jokes that this game pulls on you, like with the flares, the tour guide, all the above. So again, thank you for watching.